our last scenario, and I think this one's for Vicky, but an employee questions the fairness of the compensation decision. For example, why am I getting a lower increase than the person who sits next to me? Or how come that person's getting a promotion? They don't do anything, whereas I'm working really hard and, have done really well, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a tricky one. And I think, like the other ones, actually the preparation is the most important thing here. If you have got all that documentation about how comp is calculated, how things work, and sort of to make sure that it's fair across the board, then it's less likely you're going to have some of this, but it's also easier to explain because you're able to say, look, this is the kind of how it works. But I think it's also really important to listen to the person and take their concerns seriously, because there's a chance that something is happening particularly if you don't know for sure that what they're saying isn't true. That so I think there's not so much you can say, but if you should be doing investigations in the background just to make sure that there isn't something to this, and obviously if there is, you need to fix it. But it's important to ensure that the conversation is about the employee concerned rather than the other people. And so you can't be like, well, that person, you really have to be focused on why that person's paid as they are, and to try to help them understand like that, and how they can progress their own pay so that they feel like they're being paid fairly. So it's about how can they be paid, feel that way, so that you're leaving them feeling like heard, and so that they understand it's within their own power to influence their own pay, and so they can get there. So a little bit like the last one, it's about kind of what are your expectations and how they're realistic and how do we get there, so that person maybe can feel a bit more empowered in their own. But it's sometimes you think you've got a really good policy, but sometimes the application of it doesn't quite work, and so sometimes we analyze the policy, like the rules, but we don't necessarily analyze how it's impacting people, and so sometimes there can be bias creeping into decisions, and so it is important to listen as well to make sure that those aren't happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's really important that we as people teams or people consultants, but we keep ourselves accountable. So there might be something that we've missed, right, and we should be able to deal with that either out of cycle or, as we become aware of it. But absolutely, like in that conversation, we're talking about you